return it. Visions of lost intimacy and life. She labors another in for 3, out for 3. Focus, her therapist's reminder breaks the silence. In for 3, out for 3, in for 3, out for 3. She opens her eyes outside the train, watches herself through the glass pressed by thought. She knows the interior of that look, knows it like the blind know their living place. Her eyes, a freshly trapped animal in a hunter's snare. The station lights flicker as the train pulls away, alone again. She's assailed with guilt, with regret, with everything taken away from her without warning. Everything in the car is underwater when the train returns. She hugs herself, wishes she could hug the self trapped in the train. Deformed body parts of the baby never to be born orbit the car, just as their unformed parts endlessly sink in her now vacant womb. She doesn't know when the others enter the corridor or why she's more alone on this populated platform. She stands with these strangers who reasonably go about their business, their heads cast down the track as the next train enters the station. The third car is empty when it stops. The others rush to enter once the doors slide open. They slush through her grief as it flows past them and settles debris at her feet. Her therapist was right. Psychic distance separates self from trauma, but grief is a rock-filled pocket that helps floodwaters drown you. Just as she entered this nightmare, she runs from the station like a starved dog whose mission was fouled by a swifter creature. Despite her tearless recounting, her eyes cannot shield her refreshed fears. Your own grief aside, you nurse her through the hormone-triggered delirium until you must leave her again to return to your own life. Instead of rejecting you like she did when you were caregiver during chemo and radiation, she holds you close, as if letting go of your prolonged hug will splinter her madness into the 5,000-piece puzzle you spent years piecing into a recognizable image of her wilderness. She watches you from behind the glass door to her building as you pull away from the lot. She's 4 again, holding her stuffed puppy to her chest. She blows you kisses and waits for you to catch them, slap them on your cheek, and send kisses back. She seizes these, then eats them so they can greet the unspoken words you shared, now trapped in her throat, as if your life is all she needs to fuse her shattered soul into a new puzzle piece. All right, so my last 2 are from Blood Sisters, which is my first debut poetry collection. And this explains why I spend so much time without argument on inflatable mattresses in random places. It's just ingrained in me. So handle with care. Fragile was one of the first words I learned to spell and understand. Kitchen, music, den, living room, kids, master bedroom, this side up, fragile. Fragile meant, don't drop it, dumbass. Break the shit in that box and I'll drop kick your ass into next week. We moved a lot. Sometimes the boxes were actually garbage bags. Sometimes boxes and bags never made it to the new location. Sometimes the missing boxes and bags were filled with my stuff. Sometimes I cried about my missing things, but never loud enough for someone to hear. No, it was better if no one heard me cry. All right, this is my last one, subject to death. Some days I welcome death the way a child does in earned spaking. Other days the thought lingered overhead like a storm cloud looking for a landscape to unleash its full fury.
She must have froze. She froze in mid-poem, Bob. Okay. Well, let me just try something here too. Let's see. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I guess it's not happening. Yeah, we lost her
I'm
actually.
like, am I here now?
Oh, you're here.
I'm like, it just glitched. Okay. Once after a party, I dangled from the window of our second-story bathroom. I sat too long, conjuring courage I didn't have. This was the day I stopped watching death so it could watch me. Climbed maple trees till their tops swayed and buckled. Raced between moving cars to beat friends across the street. Lit paper wasp nests on fire to see who could outrun them. But even wasps give in to death when they've grown tired of the stinging. To give in to death was to give in to fear, so I thought. What I needed to fear, I realized, was growing tired of the running. Thank you very much for allowing me to be on this reading.
Thank you, Jenifer. Perfect. All right. Jenifer DeBellis, her new book is also, it's in audio book form, is available. And
I have free copies too. So if anybody's seriously interested in it, please private message me and I'll send you a code.
all right.
Yeah, I have like 20 more codes. So hit me up.
All right. Thank you. I wanted to get to introduce Jade. I had everything perfectly pulled up here. And of course, it's not working now, but okay, here we go. So Jade Wallace comes to us from Canada, from Windsor, Canada. She is a dynamic poet and performer, and my friends in Canada spoke very highly of Jade. And here's her bio, so you get to know her as a writer, poet. Jade Wallace is a queer, disabled, non-binary writer whose debut poetry collection, Love is a Place, But You Cannot Live There, is forthcoming from Guernica Editions, a very well-known Canadian publisher, in 2023. And they are the reviews editor of Carousel and co-founder of the collaborative writing entity Made. Stay in touch with Jade Wallace at jadewallace.ca. Please welcome Jade Wallace.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I hope you can hear me okay. If you ever cannot, please let me know. So I wanted to say thank you very much, first of all, to ML for inviting me. And thank you also to the ASL interpreters this evening. That's lovely to have. And thank you, obviously, everyone who came out. It's nice to see you. So I am going to read a few poems. The first one I'm going to read is just sort of a short poem to get us into things. It plagiarizes a little, not plagiarizes. It borrows a little bit of inspiration from a poet named Jade, who wrote a book called Daydream. And it's called Denim Jacket Daydream. Ours is a generation of wistful and somewhat attractive humans, wanderers in a bad and beautiful slough. We say that all we want are convincingly unisex jackets, but what we mean is that we are tired of bitter butterfinger metaphysics, bored of biding our time in the anteroom of the psychic. Waiting may be a form of praise, so we hold out for a future, not that our abstinence has helped in any way. We're still affable, corruptible, perpetual volunteers alive in our own space-time vehicles while we imagine the rest of the eras are off somewhere having meaningful sex. Nevertheless, we keep waiting, keep guessing. Everyone is clairvoyant sooner or later. Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is actually appropriately just out in the journal CV2's Sick Poetics issue. And the sort of impetus behind this poem was I'm currently working on my second poetry manuscript, which is all about work and like what counts as work and how we conceptualize work, basically. And at the same time, I was personally experiencing on and off insomnia. And so I was reading through all these health articles about how to cope with your insomnia or whatever. And it's like the unbelievable list of tips that you can generate for how to deal with insomnia. Like at a certain point, dealing with your sleeplessness starts to sound like its own form of work. Like it affects what you eat and what you do during the day and how much you exercise. And so I was just sort of fascinated by this concept of sleep as also being turned into a form of work. So anyways, this is the poem though. It's called Sleep Twitch. Stayed up all night reading sleep tips. They spilled out of listicles, tumbling tufts of wool too numerous to count. I've a new vocation, 8 hours a day in bed, as well as preparations, travel, periodic skills development. Rewrite my calendar. Morning comes, first flash of natural light, and where's the drummer? There's a cue to give, a change in the circadian rhythm coming. Strip the bed as I leave, build a funeral pyre, relinquish polyester, coffee beans, pain relievers, nicotine to the afterlife. Ash falls into my final cup of tea. Shimmer the oil, crack the egg. Fry until it's sunlight, until it's a goldfinch nipping my cheeks awake. Trot into the blue and wispy morning, keys clinking like milk bottles. Measure 30 minutes by the cadence of hoofbeats on asphalt. Discuss prescriptions with the doctor as if we're gossiping about my love life. Azopiclone seemed good at first, but ended with a headache. Kamut bread, cashew butter, banana cut into clock faces. It's not the dozing hour yet. Press the cold table knife to my brow. I'm browsing instead of drowsing in the afternoon. At the grocery store, tart cherries, green kiwis, lavender honey. At the health food store, glycine, L-theanine, magnesium, melatonin. At the houseware shop, sheets, long fiber cotton, 300 threads per inch, weighted blanket, heated blanket, cooling blanket. Damask drapes so long they puddle below my windows, double sets of pajamas in cotton, flannel, and silk. A machine that makes noise pink instead of white. Call it wild rice, water oats, zizania. It grows saltless as the newborn form of salmon it sits next to on my plate. In the evening, read a whole book. Play a record on both sides. Lie in the bath until there's only porcelain and vapor left. Go to the garden, harvest roots of valerian, leaves of ginkgo biloba, braid them into my hair. Drink milk malted instead of plain. Push new purchases from the table into a waiting rucksack. Laden, leave the house completely. A bedroom should lie far from streetlights, ambient noise, waking life. In the hinterlands, breathe the ocean, laugh into a closed mouth. Become a child, become a corpse. Sleep rewards work. Rest honors steadfast ritual. Okay. And in honor of my Zoom background here with the jellyfish, I'm gonna read a poem that is about a species called Turritopsis dorni, which is also known as the immortal jellyfish. And they are this very fascinating. They are actually in some ways immortal in the sense that basically whenever they're threatened, if they're injured or sick, they can actually regress to an adolescent phase and then re-go through their maturation process. And they can do this, as far as we know, a basically infinite number of times. So unless they're killed instantly in a terrible accident, they can live for quite a long time. And I thought this was a fascinating a sort of metaphor for the way some of us probably would like to approach our own lives, and specifically around issues of gender, and how we can continually sort of reimagine our identities, kind of the same way jellyfish do, although we don't get to live as long. Anyways, this is a short poem about it. It appeared recently in Coastal Shelf. And it was called I'm Gender Fluid because I wanted to be an immortal jellyfish, but nature said it wasn't allowed. Like a universe, this sequence begins with a globule. Blob collapses on the seafloor, becomes 100 versions of itself. Medusae rise, bell jars for heads, transcending the need for brains or hearts or definite lifespans. When rent, they regress. Any ache can make them young again. And again in a returning refrain of presex that threatens to drown us in envy. Trans-differentiating, cysts shimmer into cityscapes from which simulacra spring up, cells ceaseless even when the individual is not. Age has no sting when immaturity ensures a fantasy and your body knows so few laws. Immortal jellyfish are missable and fingernail small, seldom caught except in our jealous melodies. They are too changeable to be dangerous, too variable to be in much peril. Wavering through adolescence, hitchhiking widely, some of them die by coincidence or petri dish, while the other tentacular tintinnabula go on, looping toward endings we may never note. And I think honestly that was the cheeriest poem, so I think I'm going to end with that one. And thank you again so much for having me.
Jade Wallace. Thank you, Jade. I'm glad that my fellow Canadian writers turned me on to your work. Very good. Excellent. And then, of course, everybody here, when we can get back live and when, you know, it's easier to cross borders and stuff, we'll do that and have folks here talk a little bit more about that with Mr. Holman shortly. Next up is Minter Krotzer. She's originally from New Orleans. Minter has been published in many literary magazines and anthologies, and she co-edited Walking the Line, an anthology of writing about Parkinson's, which received a New York State Council on the Arts grant. She is co-creator of the Parkinson Poetry Project. So I thought it would be very, very good to have Minter be seen across the country and around the world. So please welcome Minter Krotzer. And now I got to pin her so that we know where she is there. Oh, we get two for the price of one. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, ML, for organizing this. And I think this is my first poetry reading with signers, and it makes me realize how important it is. So so I'm so glad they're here, and I've really enjoyed the other readers tremendously. So I have 6 prose poems. Here's the first one. The Hunt. We are on the floor, all 4 of us, looking for the little gray beads on the floor of the examination room. My worry bead bracelet has broken. Beads everywhere. An explosion running underneath chairs and tables and medical equipment under house feet. The neurologist, the physician's assistant, and the resident are still looking, as if it's the most important thing they have to do that day. I put the found ones in my bag along with the broken string that bound them, hoping there would be enough to recreate my bracelet, knowing there probably wouldn't be. If only I hadn't worn that bracelet down with my worries, as if it too was tired and holding too much, ready to break apart and let everything fly. Away. Sometimes I just want to walk out the front door and never come back. Just keep walking down the street as if I'm going to the store or the bus stop, as if everything is okay. No one would think anything of it. I wouldn't be carrying a bag or a purse, not even a coat. I would just be walking somewhere away from the house and the car, the husband and the dog, away from making dinner or straightening up, away from all the lists, the morning to-do list, the grocery store list, the still to-do list, and the end-of-day gratitude list that someone said I should do. I take step after step, walking down the street, wondering if anyone would notice that I'm gone, that dinner's not on the table, the dog isn't fed, the front porch light hasn't been turned on, and the garbage and recycling cans aren't out. Sometimes when I walk, I imagine that I'm already away, a far off place or another country even, and then I'm walking down a sidewalk in Rome or a pebbled path on the Isle of Skye. I squint my eyes a bit when I do this so that I can pretend better, so that a shrub can become a moss-covered rock in Wales, or the sunset, a mountain range in the distance. I can smell someone else's dinner being cooked and imagine that someone is making dinner for me, preparing a special meal, a shrimp and cut up tomatoes, a baguette, a glass of wine, and a salad. I imagine walking into one of these other houses, into someone else's life, and leaving mine behind. Crumbs. I'm watching the dog who is watching Hal, waiting for his crumbs, ready to make the move to the place underneath his chair. She is patient, her body alert and poised. Alas, when Hal stands, more crumbs fall from his placemat, the edge of the table, and his beard. A shower of breadcrumbs, corn kernels, pieces of fish, and if she's lucky, salmon skin itself. She makes the move, feasting on the crumbs as if they're manna left in the wilderness just for her. She's never interested in my crumbs. I've given up on the idea of having a crumbless house or a husband who wears an adult bib or dining cloth protector, as they call it. Neither of us wants that. I try not to feel like Cinderella as I sweep up the crumbs the dog has missed or plain doesn't want. The table has become one of Hal's many battlegrounds, along with the sidewalk, a restaurant, or even our living room. She follows him out of the room, as she always does, pausing when he pauses at the sofa. Before taking the next step, she stares up at him, ready to go. So faded. So faded is the box on my bookshelf, the size of my hand. You can barely see the figure of the woman hand painted on the cover, who once wore a hoop skirt and carried an umbrella, who stood underneath an arbor of roses. Now they're faded outlines of flowers nestled in blossoms of rust. Inside are keepsakes from high school, ticket stubs from concerts, The Who at the Centroplex in Baton Rouge, where I wore a black tube top and candies when Roger Daltrey threw the towel he'd wiped his face off with me to me, of all the women in the Centroplex that night. I kept that towel in my underwear drawer for years, unwashed. And the tiny piece of paper from Orleans Women's Clinic with a chart of days when I would take my first birth control pills, circled. A gift enclosure card from my grandmother, handwritten on her calling card. Happy birthday and ever so much love, Grandmama. The Nike label off of David Ivy's Nikes. I remember him tearing it off by the swimming pool and handing it to me. Talking Heads 77 in the warehouse by the Mississippi River. My first concert when I was 13, when my father went with us and clouds of pot smoke circled our heads. The Rolling Stones in the Louisiana Superdome. Saturday, December 5th, 1981, $18.50 with fireworks. Sunday, September 4th, torn out of a calendar with a "Call me for a crazy time, anytime" written in pencil. An invitation to the New Year's Eve party at Johnson Implements Tractor Warehouse, 8:00 p.m. till torn, faded, and yellow horoscopes. You can't seem to see enough of a new love. This overdependence hinders the relationship. Back away from all confrontations. You win by using subtlety and charm. Why is there a torn piece of lace or a plastic king cake baby, the broken end of an ivory chopstick, or Robert Charlebois scrawled on a piece of paper, not in my handwriting? Two more. Micrographia. My husband writes poetry in small notebooks, the inexpensive 5x8 spiral bound ones you see at the drugstore, not like the fancy bound French ones I have with the smooth paper and bright glossy colors, the ones I hope to write in but never do. He has good schoolboy handwriting written in cursive to please a teacher, loops and curves, dotted I's and top T's. But then as the poem moves down the page, line by line, the letters become smaller and smaller, so small that you can hardly read them anymore, and they begin to drift down to the right side of the page as if being swallowed by the corner. You can almost see the curve of an S or the belly of a B, the jig of a J, but you're not sure. When you hold the page away from you, looking at the poem instead of reading it, you see how pretty it is, how intricate, like lace made in Portugal or my grandmother's petticoat. Hal doesn't see his handwriting as beautiful. To him, it's an annoyance, a poem that didn't make it. He's always losing poems because he can't read them. I try to help with a magnifying glass, guessing at words like a puzzle. I have come to see Parkinson's as a trickster, a bully, for when Hal writes words down, takes a step, or says something, He thinks he's doing it the way he always has. But when the words come out small on the page, or people can't understand what he says, or when his steps become shuffles, he's taken aback, as if this time the words will be visible, the step far enough, or the spoken word spoken. And the last one, the last breakfast. A small piece of white paper cut into a neat square, my father's architect handwriting carved into the page in black ink, all caps and lines, a grocery list I found on the table next to his breakfast, which sat there, strands of shredded wheat swelling in the milk. Imagine him writing that list while finishing his cereal, crossing out cheese, butter, and eggs, adding bread with a question mark and berries. He must have started the list the day before when he felt better, since the lettuce question mark or T seems tentative, fading, not as set into the page. I imagine after he finished this list, he got up and went back to bed to take another nap. Why did I pick up this list from the table and put it in my pocket, even before clearing his breakfast, even before his body was taken away? There are yellow age spots on the back of the paper now, and I'm always afraid I will lose it. I've thought of framing it in a little frame and hanging it on my kitchen wall, but there seems to be something trivial about that, like it's a joke or something. My father's last grocery list. Thank you.
Thank you, Minter. Wow. I'm glad that you were able to read with us, and the anthology that you co-edited, that's available.
That's online. It's on the parkinsonspoetry.org website. Yeah.
Okay, great. And maybe after Hal reads, you might want to tell us a little bit about that project. That would be cool. That would be cool.
Sure.
Thanks for reading that stuff.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to introduce an old friend of mine. Of course, he was only 10 when I first met him on the Lower East Side, but he's a well-known poet, respected poet, much loved poet. He's friends with Maria Mazziotti Gillen, who is a great friend of mine and has been for many years. Hal Sirowitz is an internationally known poet and the author of 5 books of poetry. And these are great books of poetry, folks. The one book is Mother Said. This is a series. Mother Said, another book. My Therapist Said, another book. Father Said. Another book is Before, During, and After, and Stray Cat Blues. Former poet laureate of Queens, his work has been translated into 14 languages. He is the co-creator of the Parkinson Poetry Project, and I'm so glad that people in the Metro Detroit area will get a chance to see and hear Hal Sirowitz. Thank you, Hal. Let's welcome him.
First, I have to unmute him. Okay.
Thursday night in the park. From this distance, I couldn't tell whether he was kissing her or just taking a bite out of her pizza. Not enough room. Sticking my tongue in her mouth was like putting my foot into a new shoe. I didn't trust the fit. Put a little enjoyment in your life. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Father said, This is why we didn't name you Jack. You chose Harold. It means life in Hebrew. Hayam. Please show more signs of it. It's too late to change names. Who are we fooling? We end every prayer in temple, Father said, with the same ending, Amen, which proves that man may have the last word, but God is still the master of silence. Puffing the house down. Life is funny, Father said. You just have to see the humor in it. Take your mother. She huffs and she puffs, but does she blow the house down? Certainly not, because I'm holding on to the wall. My dead goldfish. I wanted an alligator for a pet, but my parents got me a goldfish. When he died, my mother flushed him down the toilet. She said we bury him in the yard. A cat might dig him up and eat him. I was mad at my father for using the bathroom 10 minutes after the burial. He had no respect for the dead. Does God exist? There's no proof that God is up there, Mother said, but no one can prove that he isn't. Only the dead know, but they're too busy being dead to tell us. If I were you, I would go to temple and play it safe. If he's dead, all you lose is the time you spent praying. But if he exists and you didn't go, you will be in big trouble. You won't like it in hell. You never liked hot weather. And then how can I visit you? Angels aren't allowed inside. A step above cows. I read somewhere that a cow can only walk upstairs, but not down. Even though I have Parkinson's, I'm a step ahead of a cow. I can walk up or down without much trouble. And the one time I fell, I was walking up, but lost my balance and fell down, which proves that I'm not a cow. Because for a split second, I had the choice of where to fall, up or down. And I subconsciously took the down route because it takes you faster to where you want to go at the beginning of the stairs, so I can do it right. This is gone.
We do this one
Yeah.
together? You want to do it or you want me? Okay.
And
We did this one together.
the
We have the
medicine
title.
avoiding rigidity
Avoiding rigidity.
is the medicine that makes me shake and not the disease, I said.
Then why take the medicine? She said.
If I stopped, I wouldn't be able to walk, I said. My body would become rigid.
Rigidity seems much better than all that shaking you do, she said.
I'd rather shake than not be able to move, I said.
Each to his own, she said. But if you were rigid, I wouldn't have to worry about you accidentally hitting me on the head.
But if I couldn't move, I said, what would we do to make time pass?
We do nothing, she said. We do that anyway. That's it.
That's great. Hell. Wow.
That's from 4 different books,
I know. I
I
noticed.
think.
Oh, incredible. Well, when this is over, Hal, you're coming to Detroit and you're bringing Minter. I love the New Orleans, hot as hell. You never liked hot weather.
Yeah, that's for, yes.
Beautiful. So what is going on? What's the Parkinson anthology that you guys co-edit?
Well, the Parkinson's Poetry Project is something that Bob's friends Ram Devanini started. It's a lot of different things. It started out with a documentary film about us that you can find on YouTube, and it's
Excellent.
And Bob is in it. So it's about, a half an hour long, and it's on YouTube, and you just Google Hal and Minter and it's on there. And it shows, life at our house and with our dog and just our daily life and poetry. There's a lot of poetry read in it. And then also part of that is the anthology, which we had 2 different ones, fall and spring. Yeah, we actually have one of Maria Jalan's poems in there, because her husband had Parkinson's. So the anthology is people. It was writing from people who have someone in their life that has Parkinson's, poetry. So whether we even had a yoga teacher who teaches Parkinson's patients, and we had, siblings and spouses and whoever. And that was it was really cool, because you see people from all around the country. It wasn't just where we live. And then he's working on an app, which is super cool, that's in the beta stage. I don't know what that means, but anyway, and it's being tested. It's a voice application for people with Parkinson's to read Hal's poetry as a speech exercise. And actually, Hal's has been working with a speech therapist for the past couple of months, and she was saying, going through the poems, it was really interesting to see from a speech therapist perspective. So those are the main things. I don't think I'm forgetting, but if you go to the website, it has like photographs of us, and it has a lot. I for a while I kept a Parkinson's blog, and so a lot of my writing, a lot of Hal's writing about the Parkinson's. But the project got an NEA grant. Yeah.
That ain't easy.
No,
That's
that was all Rom's doing. So, but
So
it's just been,
if you put Parkinson Project in a computer search engine, or is it Parkinson?
yeah,
Project?
it's called parkinsonspoetry.org. It's a website, and the website has everything about the project in there.
Cool.
And yeah, it's been great. It's been, and the other thing that's really interesting is that a lot of people with Parkinson's are creative. So the World Parkinson's Coalition, which has an annual meeting every 3 years around the world, they're based in New York. They're very interested in the connection between Parkinson's and creativity. And it's fascinating. And some people weren't creative until they got the Parkinson's, which is fascinating.
Wow.
And Hal's handwriting, like one person wanted to do an art exhibit of it because it's gorgeous. And I don't know if I captured how gorgeous it is. I wish I did, but it's really beautiful handwriting. He can't read it, so he doesn't think it makes him mad. But if you look at it from, it's
Wow.
It's pretty intricate anyway. Yeah, it's very frustrating to him. So
how did you guys end up in Philly?
it's a lot of different things.
How long you been there?
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, my sister lives here. And we needed to get my parents out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
So they came up here after Katrina.
Okay.
And we still needed to be close to New York. And so we're only an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it took me just as long to get from Philadelphia to New York, because I work for the city of New York, as it did for me to get from Harlem to Tribeca one day.
Wow. Wow.
So on the subway.
If you were in LA where Bob is, it takes 6 hours to go a mile on the 101. But well, that's great.
Well, I thought you were going to say 6 minutes to get to the corner where.
Well, now, yeah.
Have a glass of wine with.
Wow. Well, thank you. And do you do
thank
some
you
readings?
so much.
Do you do some readings in Philadelphia under normal conditions?
Actually, we're doing a fundraiser next Wednesday for the main Parkinson's organization here. It's a poetry fundraiser because, interestingly enough, it's not just National Poetry Month, it's also National Parkinson's Awareness Month in April. So it's interesting that they go together. So we're doing a fundraiser for them, and all these pharmaceuticals are paying for it, and it's going to be at this fancy place, and so that'll be fun. So we're going to do that, and then AWP was just here, but
did you guys go to that?
We did not.
No. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I do have poet friends in Philly.
Oh, let us know who they are.
I will. Well, a really close friend is W.D. Earhart, the Vietnam vet poet.
Yeah.
And we're all, and he comes here sometimes. And then I've done Philly before too, and stayed with him. But I'll let you know when he's going to do something at Larry's place, Larry Robbins.
Okay, yeah, the Moonstone. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think I saw you, Hal, at a gig there once, because I've done some stuff there over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
I was going to say Hal Russell, Hal Sirowitz, and Minter Krotzer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to put a cherry on top of this sundae with Bob Holman. I need to go up and pin. I need to pin you. You're in my sorority. Let's see, add a pin for Bob Holman. There he is. Okay. And then we'll remove a pin. And then we got to pin Mona Jean. There's Mona Jean. Okay. So Bob is in Highland Park. There's a Highland Park in Detroit too. He's in Highland Park. And he's in Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles area. So, Bob, there's so much to say. I'll try to do as much. I've known Bob for a long time, probably almost as long as Hal. And Bob has given me so many ideas. I just finished today at 5 o'clock. I finished my performance poetry class, which actually the genesis of it was with Bob Holman turning me on to source material. Of course, Bob is, I think, a great performance poet, performance artist. And so whenever I teach that class, and I've been doing it a lot lately, creative writing's gone through the roof at Wayne State for some reason. All those classes sell out in pre-sales. So, and then the performance poetry one has been a regular since the late 80s. So Bob Holman, founder of the Bowery Poetry Club, the author of 17 poetry collections, print, audio, video, most recently Unspoken, and Life Poem, The Cutouts, Matisse. Maybe Ed's out there. Ed knows you're reading tonight. On the Peekaboo Press, and Sing This One Back to Me, Coffee House Press. When did that come out?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. 8 years ago. I've lost track with the COVID.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that was a new one because I'm friends with those folks. Bob Holman is taught at Princeton, Columbia, NYU, Bard, and the New School, and is the original slam master and director of the New Eurekan Poets Cafe, creator of the world's first spoken word poetry label, which was very, very cool. Has performed well over 1,000 times around the globe, from Madison Square Garden and rock stadiums to church basements and Ethiopian teshbets, honey wine bars. Co-founder of the Endangered Language Alliance, which is a very cool program. Bob that's another thing he turned me on to when he was in Detroit last. Holman's study of hip hop and West African oral traditions led to his current work with endangered languages, and he did some video for that. I think it was public television video. He is the producer, director, host. I still use this all the time, the United States of Poetry, in all my classes, even if it's a research paper class, I show that. Bob Holman, his film about language loss and revitalization, Language Matters, with Bob Holman, winner of the Berkeley Film Festival Documentary of the Year Award, was produced by David Grubin and aired nationally on PBS. Holman traveled for the film and workshop. He went everywhere, Alaska, Hawaii. I think didn't you end up singing a song or reading a poem in Welsh?
Oh yeah, well I did it's a poem for Istomp, which is the National Poetry Slam in Wales at the Eisteddfod, which is the Welsh language literary festival.
Wow, I know. I spent some time in Swansea, and that's a whole nother language. And I love that video of you doing that. His roots are in Harlan County. I teach labor studies, Harlan County, USA.
Mm.
That's that's where his roots are, and he currently lives on the Bowery in New York City. It is such a pleasure to have Bob Holman, and Bob's going to be live in Detroit in June. So,
oh, really? Good.
You're gonna come and do the thing that I told you about.
Oh, Professor Louis, my hero.
That's fabulous.
My granddaughter is crying out there. She might be coming in for a little poetry.
That's okay.
Soon.
Well, do you want to start with the video, or do you want to start?
Yes, let's start with a video. That would be great. And Mona Jean, you're so amazing. Thank you for doing this and for being around the corner. And for this will be the first time that What Democracy Looks Like will be signed. It's self-explanatory. You'll all remember the summer before last.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead and hit it, Jenifer. You're muted.
I know. I was like, are you gonna, so you did the sharing?
Yep, you're the host.
Yay, all right. I got all the power now.
Thank you, Jenifer.
Right. You're welcome. All right, so give me a second to just get it full screen and playing.
Can we get the Mona up here on the screen, or is she there? This is what democracy looks like. Murals on the Bowery. Bring back Bowery Project. Bleaker than bleaker. Barer than nada in Nadia. A plywood desert out my window on the Bowery. A siren of silence. Blind leading the blinder. Looters, cops, ruder brutes. Systemic collapse and a sick rose. Slashed tiredness, buffeted by pandemic waves. Racism pulls nerves from our bodies using iron stupidity clips. Fascism allaying hot macadam on our wounds. The leadership, is tyranny. And then the artists got a hold of it. Sprung rhythm, art garden splash, walls blossom, Black Lives Matter. Many's the days and many's the ways and many's the time come before, as the dead and the dying and the violent lying wait covidly, patiently next door. The Bowery resurrects. Now there's a next. See, there's a lot more to go than's before, and the art that you see lifts infinity as you stop dead in your footsteps and roar. Up the ladder with the brush and rush. Yes, there's hardly a clown in the sky. Scooters punched them in their plywood nose, so stop your gab and chatter. Spell out Black Lives Matter. The flowers beckon, a good luck spot, I reckon. Emmett Till is still here. Dressed in colorful crack, a blessing for the homeless. Bowery Mission's sidewalk is tattooed with poem's shadow. No one shall utter the debt owed to wonder. All together now, call out the name. That's not anonymity's face on the wall of grace. George Floyd is breathing again. More art than's ever been seen before. It's a gift. It's capitalism's grave. There's no one to recall, bounce back from the fall into summer heat's saving grace. There is no justice in America, but it is the fight for justice that sustains you. Baraka says that crossed from his pad on Cooper Square. Hetty still lives there, and the murals that give sustain us on the streets where we live. Individual power dies twice every hour to be born down in utopic Foley Square. I saw you on your bike with your mask and your strike and the placards that gleamed in the pools of your dream. Oh, artists, indefatigable rascals of love. The looters and shooters and dumbass computers lie down in the middle of the streets. But BLM keeps on marching. It's the Bowery's fortune, and the past is the future again. Don't tell us what to do with the nail and the screw, with the paint and the roller, bucket and rags in a stroller. Dance on the graves of the rich and enslave those who'd profit from sweat that's not theirs. Lift your horn, lift your voice. It's for you. Make the choice. It's the people's history. Free art on the Bowery, the garden of power. Contemplation's bower, down on the Bowery, where art knows how to live.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right.
Right? Awesome.
Perfect. Wow.
I'm like, it's still playing.
That's all right. No, it's not coming across on here.
Okay, good.
I'm
I was
gonna
gonna-
reclaim hosting privileges.
Okay, and I was just gonna say too, I think if this is recording on mine, the gallery view, so I can put together a finished video with the sign language in a box. I'll figure something out. So
That
that way
you
we
can do that, but let me check this first because on my screen it is like that. And I'm gonna put this up and make it a YouTube link.
good.
Right after.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
right
good.
after.
All right.
All right, Bob Holman, come on back. There he is. He's muted.
Okay, here we are. This is baby Eileen sitting here on my lap, and we really do like what democracy looks like. Free art on the Bowery. Mikey, I love the Ukrainian flag behind you, as I said earlier. And gosh, where is it?
We did a
I wanted to
poetry.
start off with that poem by, oh, there it is. I want to start off with a poem by my pal, Jade, who's over in Kharkiv right now. I mean, he's Ukrainian, he's at home. His wife and baby, who's about 5 years old, have left, and they're near Kyiv right now. So they're out of the fire zone. He's there. He's a great poet, and he's giving Facebook posts every day. Siri, Sirhy, Jadan, Zhadan. I'm spelling with my fingers there, Mona. So this is a poem from his selected that Yale published in 2019 called "What We Live For, What We Die For." And this poem, Headphones, I think is just absolutely prescient for this moment in Ukraine, a moment that we can't believe, where surreality is reality, where history is doomed to repeat itself in the most stupidest way, and people die for it. Anyway, What We Live For, What We Die For, poems, and Siri Jadan, Serhiy. I see, I misspelled it with my fingers before. Jadan. So it's translated by Wanda Phipps and Verlana Tkach, two wonderful poets. Sasha, a quiet drunk, an esoteric, a poet, spent the entire summer in the city. When the shooting began, he was surprised, started watching the news, then stopped. He walks around the city with headphones on, listening to golden oldies as he stumbles into burned out cars, blown up bodies. What will survive from the history of the world in which we lived will be the words and music of a few geniuses who desperately tried to warn us, tried to explain, but failed to explain anything or save anyone. Now, these geniuses lie in cemeteries, and out of their rib cages grow flowers and grass. Nothing else will remain, only their music and songs, a voice that forces you to love. Now, you can choose to never turn off this music. Listen to the cosmos, shut your eyes, think about whales in the ocean at night, hear nothing else, see nothing else, feel nothing else, except, of course, for the smell of corpses. For Ukraine, from Siri Jadan, great poet. Let's see, what can we do here? How about the tyranny of the poem? I wrote this also for a play that Jadan was in. The tyranny of the poem. It will never end. You want to go on a walk? Okay, you can go with me if you want to. I'm going to read this poem for people, okay?
Just you and me, no dog.
Okay.
No dog.
You two okay? No dog, no Ruby. The tyranny of the poem. No. Okay, here you go. Oh, you want to go walk with me, huh? Well, we're going to walk through the garden here with everybody else. It will never end. You will never be alone again. Beware.
Shopping.
She wants to go shopping.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Go over and get one of those outfits.
Well, hell yeah, she's in
I'll
LA.
stay- No, I gotta stay here. I'm gonna stay here with Mikey and everybody. Look who's here, honey. See everybody? There's Hal and Minter. Hi, guys. Okay. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm gonna stay here and do this for poetry. It's the tyranny of the poem. Oh, I didn't think this was gonna happen. Do you wanna hear the end of the poem?
Just a little more.
Just a little more, and then we'll go shopping. And we're gonna have tacos. Okay? Maybe she's interested in that ice cream cone right now. Okay. You are? Let's see about it. I do, right after this poem. Tyranny of the poem. It will never end. You will never be alone again. Beware. Everybody's hand is on the big pencil, pushing out the first letter of the first word of the poem. And then you go on from there. Go ahead. Go on into the theater, never to return to this poem, yet the poem waits for you right here where you left it. It is the tyranny of the poem. You can leave the poem, but the poem will never leave you. You will never be alone again. Oh God, what a threat. Having to be alone with the poem there. Oh, my little granddaughter. All right, let's do We Are the Dinosaur. Another poem that I did in a play with Siri called Captain John Smith Goes to Ukraine. Nobody knows that Captain John Smith actually found his shipbuilder in Ukraine, which of course is a landlocked nation, except of course for the Black Sea. But I mean, as far as getting out to the Mediterranean, blah, 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 blah. All right, blessed, open the gates to kingdom come. Whoops, what happened to everyone? I planted a seed, it grew into a gun. Dum, da dum, 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 dum. Hey, life is a riot living in a cartoon. Ice age in a dumpster, that's our living room. Set fire to your roof, get a better view. Global warming is a warning. Toodaloo. We are the dinosaur. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for. Come on, follow the dinosaur. Oh, the whole world is dialing 911. The don't walk sign just changed to you better run. What we've been waiting for has long since come. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, cross the scorching sands with my big fat feet. It's hard becoming diesel fuel with nothing to eat. Better catch us quick. We're out of here. We're pre-winged birds. We tend to disappear. Oh, hurry, disappearing back into the past. Did you really think the future was going to last? It's ending with a bang. So let's have a blast tonight. Let's all dine cannibal. Oh, wow, that makes a nice contrast. Chauffeured ambulances race into the prom. Santa, please bring me a neutron bomb. Recycle the planet before the earth is a grave. Excuse me, I got to get back to my cave. We are the dinosaur. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for. Come on, everybody. Follow the dinosaur. Well, that's another timely, timeless ditty there. Okay, I did write some poetry, not much during the pandemic, which is endless, still going on. I've made 2 trips in the last 6 months. Where did everybody go? Here, come back. To one to a festival in Denmark, and then ended up reading poems in North Italy and Sicily. If you slide under the COVID curtain and get over to Europe or anywhere, I guess, you'll find that people do want to go out if it's not one of those moments that we're going to have right now. I don't know what they're called, but I've had my second booster, just to let you know where I'm at with this. It's not so much that I believe in science, it's just that I believe in drugs, you know, just hand them over, shoot me up, I always say. It was the worst of times, and then it got worse. My memoir was stuck, except I hadn't started it yet. Both Bob Dylan and Allen Ginsberg showed up in the same dream. Bob was young, happy about his performance at the gig that I had lined up for him. Bob, he said to me, will you carry my other guitar to the party? An honor, I thought, grabbing the neck and going back inside to check if there was yet another guitar, only to discover that everyone's laptops had been ripped off. Mine? I started looking and ended up at the party anyway. One room was a concert in a high school auditorium. Alan was beaming in white shirt and tie, took his seat, front row, folding chair. So much going on as I made my way to the roof, only I never get there either. Looking down on everything, a giant carnival ride with room for all. Anything that shows up is temporary. As I was saying, poetry in an offhand, the shock of the plagues amidst the spiritual awakening, political revelation, irrelevancy of everything. It was the worst of times, Charles. And then it got worse. Not my favorite time. Okay, here are some shorties for the pandemic. From March 2020, New York, you know, this was, you know, when Hal Wilner died, when there was nonstop sirens, you know, it was when we were in the apocalypse and nobody was outside, just in the hospitals. Ask not for whom the siren wails. That's you in there. Okay, then a year later, March 2021, why get out of bed? You just have to get back in again. And finally, the one that I think we all can use, this is little wisdom of the shorties. It happens every 100 years. Get used to it. You long living Homo sapiens. You ain't so smart. Kaka kamikaze friend, which way is the arc? I'm going to conclude with this poem that I actually found a video of, made about, I don't know, 100 years ago. So you can find that out there, might be on my website. It's called Whatever I Was Thinking Of. So I think it is like 10 years old or so. Anyway. Whatever I was thinking of. This is my last poem, so have fun with this, Mona. Just tell everybody. You know, the Bowery Poetry Club has only 3 live events every month. They're all on the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. One is a LGBTQ series called Endless Blue. It's a beautiful salon of a thing. Everybody's welcome. And the other is Sabuscan Poetas, which is a multilingual series, looking for poets in English. And then we have the American Sign Language series, which is starting in May. So, you know, we just want Ridloff is making sure that this one comes in. We all know Douglas, you know, so come on over and Again, there will be interpreters there for you people like me who are voicers. Too bad we can't really get the deaf community. If I put all my money anywhere, it would be in the deaf community. Whatever I was thinking of. What could I have been thinking of? Thought. I was a thinking thought. All I was thought, and I needed to get it out. It rhymed. It was a story. An image slugs your face like a lost skylark, timed like a suicide, the thought countered. Hey, wait, I'm the thought. But the inner workings, well, who's to know till it gets out? Even a poem turned to the wall, you could read its shadow. It's pre-writing. It is, as Professor Ong says, meaning nested in sound. Where does the Ong come from? From song. Wrong. Strong. Gong. Day-long diphthong. Playing ping pong with King Kong. Sigh. How much terror can one life hold? The way you held me, that death smell. Can the idea of thought keep death out? I thought you were dead, but it was me. My father, the suicider, and then my stepfather followed, and as ever, yours, fatherless. I always feel like a fatherless child. It took vowels to develop analytic thought. They go cheek to jowl. Like the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Why is it a saying? You ought to be a picture of a man crying with a child crying beside him, and an unspeakable wind, idiot, a fog with two lights sticking out of it. Sure, they go up too far, illuminating nothing. They're in the wrong place too. But what would you have us do? Now we are us. We're all thinking about every skylark, accident after accident, until the horrible truth finally dawns. It's dawn, and you're still awake, and the streets are long and lonely and dark, and Mr. Ong's guitar gently weeps. I think I want Mr. Ong to be my father. That thought rapidly passing the other way, a fireman heading up the stairway, looking for the fire while the bodies fall all around. Apples, gravity, the afterlife. Suddenly, praise poems are obituaries. Papa Suso taught me that. If you listen, the walls will speak the poetry. Writing is death. So busy remembering everything, he forgot to do anything worth remembering. Get milk! A sing-along passed on and on, generationally, till it loops into an epic. Read that back. Da-da-doot that dit. Diddly dat dat loop but rat tat. Zibbity dat bat. Look at about that. Let up a dozen. So hold on. Ring. Ah, you can call it Mama Mia. Hatu Tabada, Bakubabadu, Papa, Patipa, Batu, Papa, thought is sound. It's a brilliant collapse. What I'm saying through the corpse. Thought reinvigorating, it's agonizing. Ever so, it's the year of the granddaughter. Hello, it's the end of the final message. I'm happy. Now, why did I say that? Contained under the hat, universe condenses into single image. Image of song, song of a painting, painting of a dance. Oh, a dancing poem. Thank you.
So good to hear you and see you, Bob.
Great to see you,
Oh,
Mikey.
man.
And
This is good.
wonderful to see everybody who read here today. It's just really you can feel maybe we're getting out of it. I don't know, but this was a great reading. It was very inspiring. Great poetry, Mikey. Thank you for putting it together.
Hey,
Hey.
it's my pleasure. And when this, I'm going to convert this to YouTube so that, and I'll put that up on Facebook and I'll send it to you guys, but to post, but that you will see Mona Jean or Moxie with the reader. So thanks again to Bob Holman, to Mona Jean Cedar, to Minter Krotzer, and to Hal Sirowitz, Jade Wallace, and of course, Jenifer DeBellis and Moxie for doing some signing for us. We appreciate it. And like I said, we'll get Bob here in person and we'll have a party is what we'll do. And then we'll get in the car and we'll go to Philadelphia. We'll pick up Hal. We'll drive up and kidnap Dennis Nurksky. And thank you guys. Thanks, Jade Wallace. We appreciate it. And this will be up for people to view and see over and over again. And it's so good to see you. And I'm going to make sure the Tishes and Ed get a copy of the YouTube link. So thank you guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks, Mona Jean.
Thank you.